Hello and welcome. We are so glad to have you here. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us on Zoom, drop a hi in the chat. We'd love to say hello back. And if you are with us in person, hello, everybody. If this is your first time here, go ahead and sign our guest book either in the lobby or at oakcliffuu.org/guest. Today's sermon is Now That It's Over, Reproductive Justice in Texas After Dobbs with Melissa Thrailkill. That's important stuff. All right, it is the fourth Sunday of the month, and you know what that means. It means it's time to go forth and bowl for UU. Still blame Rita for that one. That is today, bowling from 3 to 5. $20 gets you 2 hours. 2 hours of bowling, shoes, and lots of fun with your friends. It also benefits our lovely church. You can sign up in the lobby or talk to Dawn. In Gathering is next week. I am so excited. It is going to be awesome. First of all, yeah, I'll be there. So much fun, right? I haven't been to church in ages. I'm so excited to see all of you. Also, we are going to be doing water communion, blessing of the backpack. So bring your child's backpack and your child. We're going to have some dream visioning and a potluck. So yay, all of that is next Sunday, September 4th. More details can be found in the e-blast. Speaking of the e-blast, you know it's got everything that you need because we have so much going on. And it's too much to talk about here, but it's a quick browse once a week. This week we have submitting your volunteer hours. It is that time again. This gets us grant money. This does really good things for us. It's also a reminder every time I say this that I need to submit my own. Info on the fall parish meeting coming up and the chili show off. Youth RE, what are they up to? Lots of stuff. We're getting started. So check that out. Policies and procedures. There's stuff in there for you committee heads. Widening the circle of concern updates are in there. Remember, they start again soon. Workday Wednesdays are still on hold. The first Tuesday social justice film, The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson, is coming up in a couple of weeks. You've got to put that on your calendar. And there's also information on volunteering for Meals on Wheels. Phew, that is so much stuff. I'm so proud of us. All right, it is Sunday, and we don't stop the fun right after the service, especially on days like today where we have bowling. Make sure you do that. But we have talk back at 11:15. That's where we talk about the sermon and related topics. You always get something out of it, whether you come to talk or just listen. And unfortunately, adult religious exploration is on hold this week as poor Sarah is sick. So lots of healing vibes for her. All right, it is time for member anniversaries, and we have 3 fantastic, wonderful anniversaries, so get ready to celebrate. Everyone give a happy UUCOC anniversary to Emily Glenn. Yay. We also have, this one's exciting too, Renee Brill. Renee's anniversary. Even up in Maine, she's still with us. And finally, last but not least, someone very near and dear to my heart. Happy UUCOC anniversary to my stepdad, Steve Leach. Yay! Those are really good anniversaries, right? I told you. All right, to the 3 of you and to everyone else out there, I hope that you have a very happy Sunday.
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the services of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff. Our paths to this place this morning have differed quite a bit amongst us. Our perceptions of the divine may vary across the individuals here today, but we welcome you, whatever your path, and hope that we can provide some nurturing this morning and look forward to seeing how you might change our perspective some in the days to come. Welcome. Let us worship together.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness. Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, Espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
The opening words this morning are The Right to Choose by Elizabeth Mount. To begin, to start, to create, to undertake, all these are our birthright. As we are created, so may we create. The ability and the choice to create is sacred. To withdraw that chance from any person without their permission would be a violent act, the cutting off of life itself. And yet, as precious as is the right to simply not, to end, to terminate, to stop, to discontinue, to rest, to hibernate, to impede, to prevent. These too are our birthright. For without consent, our ability to create becomes not a blessing, but a burden and an imposition. Without space for no, there can be no trustworthy yes. Today, we come to this holy place and time, ready to invoke the divine, to make space for the sacred, to co-create community once again. This, too, is a choice. You cannot, you may not be coerced into relationship with the holy or with one another. I invite you, I ask you to join us. I respect it if you will not, today or ever. More sacred than any other individual need is choice. The right to know oneself, the right to know what you are ready for, what you need, to stretch where you can, to pause where you will, to know your body, your mind, your spirit better than anyone else, and ultimately to be trusted with the responsibility of your own living.
And we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we
Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
Porque nos amamos una al otro, honoramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y excepción, así que hacemos pacto.
Some of us arrived this morning with a smile on our face and joy in our hearts. Others, perhaps not so much. We may be burdened with events of the week or news of the day. So each week we share our joys and our sorrows with one another, for in so doing, we find that often a burden shared is a burden lightened. Those of you with us online today can speak your joys and sorrows in the chat room in Zoom, or post to our Facebook, or simply say them out loud. Share our joys with one another, for who doesn't need a celebration at least once a week?
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We're happy to welcome to our pulpit this morning a local attorney, Melissa Thrailkill. Melissa?
Okay, I think that was a signal. Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa Thrailkill, and I use she, her pronouns. And I want to thank you all for letting me or inviting me to be here today to talk about reproductive justice. A little bit of my background and how I got into this. So I grew up in Duncanville, Texas, just down the road. And I'm sure you all know that Duncanville and Dallas in general is a very conservative place, and also kind of a racist place. We have a pretty bad history in Dallas, and Duncanville was a typical white flight type suburb. And I always had a feeling inside of me that something wasn't quite right about that, although I didn't really grow up in a very political family. We didn't talk about those things that much. But something inside me knew something's not right about what's kind of happening around me. And so I left Duncanville as soon as I could and went to school at UT Austin. And one day sitting on the bus, about 2001, I was reading, it's before smartphones, if you can believe it, reading the actual newspaper in my hand. And Texas had just passed a law that required minors to get parental permission before they could terminate their pregnancies. And I knew that it was going to get worse. And it was very clear to me that we were definitely about to face a lot of hard times here in Texas. And so I thought, well, I'll just go to law school. I'll fix everything if I can go to law school. So I went off to UC Berkeley and quickly learned that I was not going to fix anything because we live in a society and a system that really isn't built for justice at the end of the day. We like to think that we live in a country of democracy and freedom and liberty and justice, but we all know that that's not really how it works, and that the system is designed to make it really hard to achieve that. And I learned that really, really quickly, just reading cases from the Supreme Court and realizing that this was not designed for true liberation and justice of all people. So I wanted to quit, but I don't really like to quit things, so I actually finished. And, fortunately, that did give me the opportunity to go down to the border in McAllen area, Edinburgh and Brownsville, Texas, and help families living in poverty with their family law problems and gained a lot of insight there. And I also had the opportunity to use my law degree to help those minors that inspired me to go to law school in the first place obtain their judicial bypasses. But of course, that work is over, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. I cannot take minors to court anymore to even get a judge's permission for them to terminate their pregnancies, because they can no longer terminate their pregnancies in the state of Texas. It is now illegal for abortion in Texas. And it's hard not to get a little emotional because I see their faces, but, and you guys are just full of so much love and hope that I want to kind of try to speak from a place of love, because it's over, it's illegal, and I don't know when it will ever come back. Even if we have a blue wave, I don't want to get into politics, but even if we have a successful change of leadership in this state, it's not going to happen overnight. And so we have to prepare for what do we do now and how do we move forward. And one way we do that is what we're doing today, is just meeting in places of community and sharing space and being willing to talk about this difficult subject. It's not an easy thing to talk about because people have a lot of different opinions, and that's okay. But there's a lot of opportunity to really do something and build something new in this new landscape that we have. So I do want to talk a little bit about what the actual state of the law is, just to hopefully clear up any confusion. And then, of course, I'll be sticking around for the talk back, and so if people have questions and want to talk more about that, I can talk about that as well. So essentially, as I stated, abortion is only legal to save the life of the mother, and under our trigger law, I'm assuming most of you have listened to the news or at least read the headlines, so you're familiar with that term, the trigger law. Basically, that just made abortion illegal in Texas without the state legislature having to come back and meet after the Supreme Court decided to strike it down. And so that went into effect on Thursday, and there's some other states in the country who also had similar law, actually even worse law, if you can imagine that, go into effect around the same time. Tennessee, Idaho, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, I think Mississippi, all of those states have some form of trigger ban or have banned abortion in some form. Under that trigger law, it's a felony, it's a crime for anybody to perform or induce an abortion. It is punishable up to life in prison, and it is also punishable by a civil criminal crime, fee of $100,000. And that shall be collected by the Attorney General. So that word shall in the statute makes it mandatory. So if you are found guilty of that, you will definitely be facing a $100,000 fine and potentially life in prison. That law does not include an aid and abet provision. So, and that law also does not allow for criminal prosecution of the pregnant person. There's also a pre-Roe law, 1925 law, that it's questionable whether or not the state can enforce it, but there's no injunction against it right now. That one also makes abortion a crime, although the punishment is only up to 5 years on that one. And there is an aid and abet provision in that law. So that law does say if you further help somebody obtain an abortion in some way, you can be criminally prosecuted for as an accomplice. We don't really know what that all includes and if the state can technically enforce this law, but the Supreme Court of Texas has lifted an injunction, and so it's kind of an open playing field in terms of whether or not that law is going to be enforced. Activists and advocates on the ground assume that it will be enforced or at least tested. And then we have the heartbeat law, SB 8, or the bounty hunter law. That's a civil law. So that law forbids any state official from filing a suit under this law, but it allows any one of us anywhere in the state of Texas to sue anybody who we think provided an abortion, induced an abortion, or aided and abetted. So that one does include an aid and abet, but it's a civil crime. $10,000 fine. Not very many defenses, and you don't have any right to attorney's fees. So even if somebody just sues you for the heck of it, you will not get attorney's fees, even if you're successful at defeating it. That law basically turns all of us into police officers for the state. And that one has created a lot of confusion for doctors and people like me, lawyers even, and activists out there who, like abortion funds, who provide funding for people to travel or to have the procedure. Right now, all abortion funds have pretty much shut down in Texas, so they're not offering any sort of financial assistance for travel, even to states where it's not illegal. That's because everybody's not really sure how the state's going to interpret that 1925 aid and abet provision. And of course, everybody's really worried about these civil suits and being sued under those civil suits. So the landscape is pretty scary and dire right now because there's a few things that we know, and that our elected officials who pass these laws and our judges who hold them up, they all know that at least 1 in 3 women or people will have an abortion in their lifetime for different reasons, but we do know that that's a fact. We also know that the majority of those people who terminate their pregnancies are already parents. So they're already raising children, and they are usually deciding to make that decision because of economic reasons, or perhaps some other reason. They may be in a violent relationship and it's not a good one, or they may have a medical condition of some sort, or just, experiencing a bad pregnancy. We also know that the United States is one of the worst countries in the developed world and non-developed world in maternal mortality rate. We know that Texas is actually one of the worst in the world for people who die while giving birth or shortly thereafter. We know that the majority of those people who die are Black women, and we also know that most of those women are living in poverty. So we know that the people who are going to suffer the most under these abortion bans and these type of civil surveillance type laws are going to be Black and brown people, people living in poverty, and people and young people. Those who have the power and the ability to leave the state will be able to do so. And that's sort of the argument you'll hear from the other side. Well, you can just leave the state. But of course, that leaves out a lot of people who are not going to be able to do that. So we have to prepare for that. So there's a lot of, I kind of wanted to talk about things that you can do. I would suggest, being careful about actually helping somebody even leave the state. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying be careful in doing it. And unfortunately, these laws, they operate from, their deterrence is fear, all fear-based. They don't care if these are constitutional or if they'll eventually be struck down by a court. They know it may take years before a court finally even strikes it down if they do so. And so all they have to do is make us scared of each other. This isn't the only law that they're doing that with, but it's one of the big ones. So we're scared of each other. We're scared to go and talk when we need help because you just don't know who you're talking to anymore. So what I appreciate about your congregation and being here today and seeing all the wonderful things on the walls and the posters and the hymns and everything is you come from a place of love and understanding and empathy, and that is what the community needs the most right now. They need to know that they have people they can go to for help, and that those people are going to help them in a non-judgmental way, in whatever way they can. Some other things, that really we have to think about are, so what can we do? We're going to have people who will be forced to continue their pregnancy, whether they want to or not. We will have people who will die, and we will have people who will self-manage their abortion in some way and perhaps need help after that. We know that people are going to suffer from food insecurity. We'll have more of that. We'll have definitely more poverty and economic injustice. And so there's a lot of things that you can advocate and push for that are related to reproductive justice and supporting these people. You may not be able to support them in their ultimate goal because you're fearful, and that's okay. But maybe you can help in other ways. Advocating for expansion of Medicaid, for example, advocating for reinvestment in our public schools, advocating for parental leave, guaranteed parental leave, advocating for comprehensive sex education, donating to mutual aid organizations and things of that nature, helping people survive in this kind of new landscape. Because as I started off, the system is not going to figure that out for us. So we're going to have to figure it out for ourselves in our own communities, talking to each other like we're doing today, talking to our neighbors, and being willing to have some of those difficult conversations. This is, somebody else said this on a podcast, another activist I heard, so I can't take credit for it, but this is a movement, not a moment. And anybody who's been fighting for civil rights knows that. It never stops. For 50 years, people have been, in their churches actually, advocating for the day that we have reached. They spend a lot of money and a lot of time. They can work on this issue 24/7. Most of us can't do that. We're working and just trying to do the best for our communities. But they can and they will, and they have more for us in 2023. There is more coming. If you think they couldn't make it worse, trust me, they are working on it. They're ready. They have the laws written. They will be introduced. They will likely be passed. And so if you think it can't get worse, don't hold your breath. So to go back to the idea of hope and to try to end, on that note, now's not a time to retreat, for sure. We have to keep pushing forward, but we just have to be really creative in how we do it. And we have to be willing to stand up, even if it means getting that pushback. We have to be willing to talk to people about what we believe, and we have to be willing to do that in our own lives and in our own communities. And this church is so inspirational because, I see your commitments that you had on the screen, and it's just wonderful because if you're willing to admit when you do something wrong and learn from it and try to correct it and do something right, that's how we progress. And our elected officials have put us in a position of caring for each other and developing our own ways of mutual aid and community care. And they're not going to do it for us. We're just going to have to figure it out and do it ourselves. And that's can be inspiring because we can do it. I believe that we can do it. And, it is going to be hard, and we are going to have to we're going to face a lot of darkness, not just on this issue, but on so many other issues. So just keep doing what you're doing. We all have a role to play, and find whatever that may be for you. Maybe going out and talking about abortion is just something you're not comfortable with. That's okay. I wear it on my sleeve. I wear my abortion shirts everywhere I go. And I've lost relationships because of that. I know that not everybody's there. Excuse me. And so think of all the other ways. Thank you. Think of all the other ways of things that you do feel comfortable talking about. That opens the door to those conversations of how we can progress forward in all those areas where people are going to need help, from housing to healthcare and reproductive healthcare, to education, to health, to food. What is it that you're passionate about that's going to serve and come from a place of love? And it doesn't always have to be talking about abortion. It can be talking about so many other things, including, access to other reproductive health care. And this affects everybody. It affects all families and all people. So, it's not just a woman's issue. It's an everybody's issue. We know that all people can get pregnant, no matter what the state says. And even those who don't identify as somebody who can get pregnant or can't get pregnant, they're affected too. And children are affected. And we as a society are affected. A lot of government resources are going to go into the repercussions of this. So all I can really say is keep doing what you're doing. You guys are coming from a place of love and open-mindedness. You have me here. Keep having these conversations. Go out there and try not to feel despair. I cry a lot still sometimes, but, I have a lot of hope. And today I feel really happy today because I see a room full of people who are open-minded and willing to give this a shot and who are committed to making a change, even if we know that we may not see it. I may not see the change I want to see before my physical spirit body leaves this realm, but I know at least that I tried. And it's good to know, and it feels really good to know that there's a lot of people in my community who want to try too. And so just support each other and lift each other up, and we can do it. And I'm going to stop there, I think, and leave it open for talk back.
Lady of the seasons, laughter in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. On
Please join me in reciting the widening of circle of concern covenant. We, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff, commit ourselves to the study and dismantling of racism and oppression within our congregation. We commit our congregation and ourselves to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. We commit ourselves to listening, to learning, and to action. When we fail, we commit ourselves to trying again and again. We covenant to begin this work and to continue until all of us can truly say that we are a beloved country of justice, equity, and compassion.
Time for our widening moment. Those of you who have been here this month know that we have been offering a prompt and asking you to take a few minutes to think about your response to what does a beloved community mean to you? This is our last Sunday with this prompt. Baskets are being passed with writing implements, paper, or cardboard to use for support. You'll have about 5 minutes if I remember to set my timer. We have to dream and envision what we hope for the future. And that's really, where's Melissa? That's a hard act to follow. But what I heard from Melissa is that we have to have hope, and there is hope. So I'll stop talking now, let you think. What does a beloved community mean to you? I thank you all. You may put your cards in the collection basket when it comes around, or save them and turn in at the end. These will be added to our boards on my right. If you want to take a look at, there are some really nice sentiments, and these will be compiled, collected, collated, whatever. And shared. The mechanism for that is yet to be determined, but watch out for that. The Widening Circle of Concern team will share all of this with you. I thank you very much.
Let there be an offering to sustain this place that is held sacred by so many of us. As we pass offering baskets this morning, there are instructions in your order of worship and in the online chat regarding designating cash towards your pledge and about other methods of making donations.
Together we share.
The closing words are from Andrea Hawkins Camper. Be about the work. May we see all as it is, and may all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. If not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience.
Here's the thing. We will get there. We will get there. The question is, what are you willing to do to help us get there? What is your sacrifice going to be? What is your action going to be? We are now there, and none of us wants to be here. So we got to figure out how to get to the next place. And the promise is we will get there. The question that I'm asking for you to think about as we leave today is how? And what will be your contribution to the how? Go, live into whatever is amazing. And I want you to think about this as we extinguish the chalice, because I know that's next. And I'm not going to come back after that. But I want you to think about the how, because we will get there.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.